The crows are the best. They are the best part of this show. Hands down, no discussion necessary. We all know it. They are the best. Yes. Even when they're not great, they're still the best. Hey, this is the Sword and the Pen Reflections. It is my casual alternative to the more formal channel, The Sword and the Pen, link up there. So I'm going to be discussing right now Season 2, Episode 3 of Shadow and Bone on Netflix, and comparing it as best I can to the books, even though at this point it's not following the books very closely at all, which it did very nicely in Season 1. So let's start. At the moment, I am on Chapter 13 in Siege and Storm, and the biggest difference right away in this episode was Alina is brought into the fold by choice, as in it's her idea. Once again, the show is doing this thing where it says, okay, we want these things to be Alina's decision, like she decides she wants to do these things, giving her some choice and agency in this matter. And that's good. I liked it. I liked it because she gets in there and she's like, I'm gonna take out the fold right now. And it doesn't go very well. She's not able to do it. By the way, the hummingbird was so much more awesome in the show than what I imagined in the book. I actually managed to read these chapters before watching the episode. And yeah, I thought it was very cool. I liked it a lot. So she fails to destroy the fold and they crash land on the other side. Whereas before in the book, it wasn't her choice. She was just traveling with Sturmund to go to his employer. And he decides we're going to make a pit stop in the fold, and they find a nest, which is an old skiff. Actually, I think it's the same one that she was on at the end of the previous episode. And she basically, it's a disaster, okay? But in the end, that would have been his fault. Like, he was the one who didn't, tell her what he intended to do, and they arrive there, and she's like, it's not her fault. It's not her fault that she couldn't defeat the fold. It's not her fault that all of these Volcra came and attacked them. And in the show, it is. So I'm liking that a lot, especially since I'm starting to see a conflict, an internal conflict that the book is building up to, and I don't think I've seen a whole lot of it so far in the Netflix series, but I do see that I think they're going there. And that is that she is sort of, she's succumbing to the temptations of pride with power. And her saying, I can take out the fold right away, was far more interesting to me in the series as a means of showing that she's going to have all this confidence and power and feel like she can do stuff that she really can't. And that's cool. I like that. In the book, that's not the case, but at the same time, we're still seeing this stuff being built in. And actually, the book did do a good job later on, especially with a scene with some Grisha that show up at the palace. Anyway, we'll get into that later. Now, something that did happen in the book that I actually would have liked to have seen this in the show, but I understand why they didn't do it. This is Sturmund has a face that is not his own. And once they get outside of the fold and the Ravka military shows up, he reveals his true face, and he's way more handsome.
A very beautiful man with a perfect body who I'd like to take to the movies.
I would have liked to have seen that in the show, but I understand why they didn't do it, because they wanted to have this young, attractive actor playing this role, and it would have been weird, I think, for people to switch out to a different role. You know what's weird? I don't understand. You know what? Okay, I said I understand, but I don't understand. Why not do this in TV shows? Can anybody think of a movie or a TV show where they had different actors playing the same character after a face change? Oh, but yeah, so, the reveal is that Sturmund is the prince, and I thought this was great. I thought this was very good. So in the show, again, like, I've been picking up on little things like that he's kind of an honorable character, or he has this elevated sense of honor, anyway, like from the funeral in episode 2. Also in this one, immediately after the Volcra attack, the first thing he does is ask, is everybody all right? Like, anybody hurt? This is the sign of a caring leader. So I think that they're trying to show that he is a prince and he would be a good leader. They've done a very good job. I just have a quick note about something that happened in the show, and that is after the big reveal that Sturmund is actually Nikolai Nikolai. I'm just gonna call him Nikolai. They head out to the spinning wheel, which is the nickname for this other palace, which is a gorgeous, very cool set. This show continues to have really interesting sets, even the fake ones like this one. Although I'm sure the interior, a lot of that's probably real, but the exterior, definitely fake. But it was still cool. They had no guard. So they're just traveling down this road, no guards. So they think that, I guess, Alina is such a badass. And I was sort of expecting that part of the military would go with them to protect the prince, but whatever. It bugged me, okay? I was bugged. Zoya is back. I like the Zoya character. I felt like her change was a bit sudden in the end of the previous season. And I gotta say, they did it again. They've changed her too much once again. I did not believe for a second that she would get over her bitchiness in the time that she was gone from Alina, unless she went through some big psychological rebirth, which I guess could happen. But we need to see that, because at the moment, her being like, this is the vibe I'm getting. Like, you and I are going to be like best friends. I admire you so much, Alina. Like, that's the vibe. That's not what she said. That's not what she did. But that's the vibe that you're getting here. And it's just not believable. This is a girl who absolutely loathed Alina and did come to her aid. Oh, you know what? She didn't do it in the book, did she? No, she didn't. But she does here. She loathes Alina in the show, and then suddenly now she doesn't, and she's like supportive of her and, like trying to help her. I would have fixed this by having Zoya build up her, or not having Zoya, but having the show build up Zoya's resentment of the Darkling. Like, her hating the Darkling helps her to bond more with Alina, because we know that she was jealous that Alina was getting a lot of attention from the Darkling. Well, how about this? How about she suddenly feels like, I was an idiot. I was getting totally tricked by the Darkling. He was obviously using me. And let's showcase that a little bit. Show her giving him like the evil look. And I know we got like 2 seconds of it where she was left in his bedroom after he walked out, and she did like a airbender thing. And that's not enough. I want to see more of that. I want to see her hating on the Darkling, and that then would have been a believable reason for her to suddenly want to side with Alina. The enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of a thing. That's how I would have fixed the Zoya character. Now, if you want something traumatic to have happened to her while she was off screen, that's fine, but you got to tell us what that is. Otherwise, this transformation just feels forced. Oh yeah, did the Nadia actress change? I should have looked that up. I think that the actress for Nadia has changed. And Alina didn't bother to ask about what happened to Marie. Like, she has no idea that Marie was assassinated because somebody thought that Marie was Alina. This should be a big thing for Alina, because Nadia and Marie were like her buddies at school, at Grisha's school. If that gets dropped forever, it's an oversight on the part of the writers, because it would add so much to the internal conflict of Alina, that people that she cares about are going to die for her. I would like to see that. I would really like to see that. Come on, showrunners, please. Showrunners, people who are writing this show, do it. Okay, the last thing that I want to comment on as far as the Alina and her story, I think it's the last thing. Yep, it's the last. Is it? Yep, it's the last thing that I have to okay. So the last comment I have to make about the Alina storyline here is, in the book and in the show, Nikolai says we should get engaged, like just for pretend. Although it's not entirely certain that it is pretend in the book, actually. He says, like, we should just get married. And yeah, so what if it's a marriage without love? He's very aggressively trying to get Alina to marry him and, like, basically give Mal the boot. And it's obnoxious as hell. But in the show, they did it so much better. It's still a little annoying, but it was tolerable to me because it was a different take than what I expected. And that is that he says, look, I'm going to propose a engagement. We don't even have to get married, but as long as people think that we're together, you have the power of the Ravka royal house behind you. And Mal supports this, or indicates that it doesn't bother him in the show. Whereas in the book, he is just a little jealous Joe. I mean, my gosh, it's so childish. And it's just not a mature way of going about this situation. Like, they should be fully aware of what the advantages are of aligning themselves with the royal house. You'll have the support of the army, you'll have the public opinion support, and the Grisha will also have the protection of the royal house. So it just makes a lot more sense for them to be like okay with this. And if they really do love each other, then he should also, they should be like, okay, I get it. We're just going to do this as a show. It's not really you're going to get married. It's just going to be for show. And Alina's against it in both cases, but in the show, Mal being supportive of it gives her, it's less pressure on her to go along with it. Also, Nikolai is less aggressive in the show, and that's a good move. That is a good move because he's supposed to be this compassionate sort of a person, a leader who understands, right? And if he was behaving the way he does in the book, where he's constantly trying to put his arm around Alina while Mal's watching and haha, I've got her, not you, which is so dumb. It's very childish. And I get it. Like there's, young people will read this and really enjoy that because, they go, oh my gosh, I hate that he's doing that. We love Mal. But isn't it more interesting if this is an awkward situation for her to be in and for Nikolai to be in? I don't know. It's just a more mature way to go about this, to say, okay, we're going to handle this like grown-ups, because now we all are asking ourselves like, wait, Nikolai's kind of a cool guy too. So they're doing a good job here of making a secondary love interest, which I was totally right. This is going to be a love triangle. I just know, I knew it from the beginning. Oddly enough, the sense of a love triangle is far stronger in the book than it is in the show, because you've got Nikolai putting the pressure on Alina so much. He steals a kiss from her, and she, of course, kicks him in the shin, I think, or I forget how she kicks him, but trying to make it look like they are a couple more, and then putting Mal down and teasing him and stuff. And in the show, he's not. I like what they're doing with the Mal, Alina, and Nikolai thing in the show, because you still have a love triangle. It's just not as convoluted or ridiculous or immature. So I think a more mature audience will enjoy it more. Okay, let's move on to Kirigan. I do actually like what they're doing with his character. I'm still a little lost as to what his goal is, at least at the beginning part of this episode. So first we'll start with him and Baghra. So he's captured Baghra. He's got her in a cage, and you see that she has changed. So she used to be very cold-hearted, like you should just look out for number one, except not like that, but you get the idea. And now she's realizing that that was a bad idea because she's created this monster. And something that she says that I found really interesting was that she says, you could have won Alina's heart, because Alina said that in the last episode of season 1, where she told Kirigan, we could have had a good thing. Like it might have worked out between us, but you put your greed for power over trust and, giving me the option. Like I could have chosen to be with you, but you took that away and now you don't have it ever. And Baghra is kind of bringing that up again. So this is good. And I didn't see this happening in the book, obviously, because we're not in Kirigan's head at all. We don't know what the heck is going on with him. We just hear stories of what he's up to. This is good. I like this. I think it's great. It's also creating this, it's wedging sympathy into the Kirigan story, because you kind of see that, yeah, he regrets that he didn't do it because he is alone. So excellent job, show. Once again, doing it right with Kirigan. Okay, then we've got Jenya and David. So the two of them are now talking, and not that they weren't talking before, but you sort of get the sense that they weren't like this close before, but now they are, because they both recognize that Kirigan is sick. And David comes in and confirms that Kirigan is not in control of these Nichevoya, and this is extremely dangerous, and we got to get out of here. And so the two of them plot to leave. I like that, and a little freaked out what the heck happened to Jenya. So, and also disappointed in David. You're a coward. He just left her out there to face the Darkling by herself, and he hears her freaking out and puts his hands over his ears like, I don't want to listen to her die. That was awful. Okay, so David has proven himself to be a coward, and Jenya, I don't know, I kind of agreed with her argument, like, look, I've done enough for you, Kirigan, you gotta let me go. But I didn't get a sense from Kirigan that he had remorse about that or disagree with that. Did I miss that? I didn't take a note about it, so maybe I missed it. I only watched the episode once. Usually I try to watch it twice before doing this review, but this time I only watched it once. And I didn't get that sense that Kirigan agreed with her or recognized that, yeah, he did use the hell out of her by sending her to the king and all that stuff. So I maybe would have liked to have seen a moment of pause, like where he thinks, I did kind of put her in a terrible life situation. Didn't happen. His creature goes after her, and then I think does the creature go after David? No, David runs away. We don't know what happened to him. I'm guessing he gets away. I'm gonna guess he gets away, and that's that. Okay, so I have one question. This confused me. We keep seeing close-ups of Kirigan's hand, and somebody, I think it was David, mentioned that it seems like there's still a piece of something in there. Is that right? I'm confused. Kirigan is asking about if he could sense Alina. Like, is it possible that I could still sense her? Like, if she's alive, I still get a sense that she's there and that, you know, something's going on, because he doesn't know that she's alive yet. And we get a close-up of the hand, and David said something about there still being a piece in there. So is there still a piece of the amplifier in his hand? Does it matter if it's a tiny piece? The magic is a little vague here, and I like the way the magic has been handled up until now. I've had a couple of questions about it, like, for instance, the whole absorbing the antlers thing. I was like, isn't that something that it's a Corporalkai, right? Corporalkai does? Anyway, so Kirigan has these visions of Alina, and he doesn't know if that means, like, she's alive. And I do like, at the very end of this episode, he sort of taunts her while she's sleeping. I think he touches her face, and then he puts out the candlelight, and you see that when Alina wakes up and she thought it was a dream, the candle is out. So this is a special power. These are visions of some kind. It's not a dream. This is sort of like that thing in the Star Wars movies with Rey, right? Where they could, like, have visions of each other. It was kind of weird. I don't even know what the hell that was. But anyway, you get the idea. I like this. I think that it adds some tension, like that they can interact with each other, but I don't understand how the magic works. Is he using magic from her in some way? I don't know. Because he's got light coming out of his hand now sometimes, right? That's not one of his powers, that's one of hers. Like, it's going back through the over our heads in a million little pieces, towards where he is. Her power somehow is getting to him, and he's got it coming out of his hand. So maybe it goes the other way too. That could be super cool. They like share powers now. That's what I hope they do. That would be awesome. Okay. Well, they've already made it. I was like, they should do this. They've already made season 2. We'll see where it goes. But that's what I would do if this was my story. How neato would that be? Okay, anyway, moving on. Time to get to my favorite part. The crows. The crows are the best. They are the best part of this show. Hands down. No discussion necessary. We all know it. They are the best. Yes. Even when they're not great, they're still the best. So I've got a lot to say about the crows. First off, I am so glad Jesper stands up to Kaz. I was waiting for this to happen. It clearly had to be after something disastrous goes on, which something disastrous did happen. And so he stands up to Kaz finally. And then you have, what's his name? The new guy, Wylan. Wylan doesn't really seem to stand up to him, but is starting to inject himself into these conversations, much to the dislike of Kaz. He talks about there was a plague. I picked up on something on Kaz's memory of himself being covered in what looked like plague marks. So, okay, at some point, Kaz was involved in one of those plague ships that they sent out into the harbor, where it was all the dead bodies. We couldn't bury them fast enough, so we put them on ships and put them out to the harbor. So somehow he blames that on Pekka, right? I don't know how you blame a plague on a person, but he's gonna do it somehow. So I'm still waiting. I feel like I've got two storylines that are supposed to come together. Now, I did catch in his memory of Pekka cheating him and his brother. They basically gave all the money that they had from selling their father's farm to Pekka for some sort of an investment. And then when they came back later to collect, Pekka was gone and no sign of their money. So somehow, we did have a vision of him and his brother on the street. So maybe they became beggars after that. And then they got sick from the plague and got sent out into the harbor. But maybe somehow Kaz survived. I don't know. Would he blame Pekka for all of that? That's an awful lot to blame on Pekka. But still, he took the money from their farm. So that's bad. But anyway, what did I really, really love about this first bit with the crows? I absolutely loved the Inej-Kaz interaction. That was so good, so much better than I was expecting. It wasn't like monumentally perfect, but it was very good. So she is telling him, well, first of all, he doesn't want to even touch her, which I'm glad it's sticking with this. He has a thing about touch, and I don't know if it's about her wounds or about just touching another person. It seems to be the latter. So maybe it's both, but it seems to be especially the latter, that he doesn't want to touch other people because he's like reluctantly helping her with her wounds. And he finally, after she is like, I deserve to know why I almost died, why this is happening to me. And he tells her, he says, he killed my brother. And I was expecting her to be like, oh no, you poor thing. And that wasn't the case. Or either that, or for her to be like, well, I'm very sorry about that, but you still shouldn't do this. What's her reaction? Her reaction is great. It's, let's go get him. And that is so nice to see that you have this team that really feels and understands with each other. So yay, good job on the Inej and Kaz coming together thing. I love it. It's very, very good. Here's the part where I take issue with stuff with the crows is great, but not perfect. That is with Inej here. This reaction, as much as I really enjoyed it, does not quite fit into her philosophy. So the previous season, we saw her having a problem with killing people, right? She had to do it twice, and both times it was very, very difficult for her. She's religious. She's against killing. But she doesn't seem to be against revenge. And also later in this episode, we see that she's perfectly fine with killing. So we've kind of broken her a little bit, but I mean, you could have taken time to explore this more. You know what? They really should have done just the Six of Crows story. It should have been like, you know what? Forget Alina and Nina and Matthias and Mal and all those guys. Forget them. Don't care. Let's just do a show about the crows. Because this is something I would have liked to have seen developed. I would have liked to have seen her get to the point where she's allowing herself to take revenge, like I'm going to be the scale of justice kind of thing. And I would have liked to see that. Didn't get to see it, but yeah. I also did enjoy that Nina noticed that, they like each other. She was given the whole like, oh, that was nothing. Yeah, right. Nobody's buying that. That was a good face. I'm enjoying Nina's interactions with the crows a lot. And I know people said like, oh no, I know she was terrible in season 1, but she's going to be great in season 2. You were right. I know we're only, 3 episodes in, but so far she is so much better in this than she was in the previous season. So, thank goodness. Okay. I am enjoying the Jesper-Wylan interactions, even though they haven't had a whole lot where it's like the two of them having to do stuff, bouncing the ideas and things off of each other so much as they happen to be both doing the same task together. And I thought it was a little convenient that Wylan I like that he comes up with the idea like, we're here to fix the piano. Unless I missed it. Were they informed in advance that they were going to have to do something with the piano? Or that there was an issue with the piano? Because I didn't pick up on that. I picked up on they showed up in the house and all of a sudden they're in a corner going, oh my gosh, we have to come up with some random excuse for why we're here. And Wylan just like very cleverly like, oh, I'm a piano repair guy. We're here to repair the piano. And it turns out that the piano is broken, like miraculously. That was awfully convenient. Also, this scene kind of took a long time. And I think the reason why they did it, because I do play a little bit of piano, that Wylan actor was definitely playing the piano. And I gotta say, okay, I think that they've put some musical bits in here for this character because the actor probably can really play. I think he plays the flute in the beginning, although I didn't think that looked real, but he was playing the piano. So I felt like this was like, you can play the piano. Let's write a scene about, you interacting with the piano and it's a thing. I like that Jesper heard him playing and was moved by it and delighted by it. That was good. So like maybe he's remembering something about Wylan, which it sounds like they did sleep together. So it was a date. You know, because he says, I woke up and you were gone. How funny that it was Wylan who was gone. But okay. Anyway, so the piano scene felt like it was written specifically so that this actor could play the piano, because I wasn't picking up on a lot of the tension in it. It was super cute. I gotta say, the whole interaction with the kid where Jesper's like, did you cut this piano wire? And then the maid or what was she was the nanny or whoever's like, how dare you assume that he would do something? And the kid's like, yeah, it was me. I thought that was very cute. Liked it a lot. I also liked that Jesper had to use his power to fix the piano wire because they didn't know how else they were going to do it. But I didn't like that he did that in front of Wylan, like in a way that Wylan now knows he has this power. Because seriously, previously, this was a secret. Jesper is keeping his ability as a Durast totally secret from everybody. Even Kaz didn't know, at least he didn't know at the beginning of the series as far as we know. It seems like he said there were 2 instances that tipped him off to it, and they both happened during season 1, like midway to the end. And yeah, so he didn't want Kaz to know. I don't think Inej knows. And now he's just revealed it to Wylan. Whatever. I mean, why couldn't he have taken the piano wire off and been like, oh, it looks like we're going to have to go and replace this thing, and then when they get out of here. They did it because they wanted to have this actor play the piano. And it felt like that. Even though it was a cute scene, it was also kind of a useless, like too much of a scene for what they were doing. I really liked that Wylan immediately was like suspicious of Kaz wanting to go after the son of Pekka. Because he's against that. I have a feeling that Wylan he's got something about a child, or maybe he had a traumatic experience being a child. And because he seemed to recognize right away that this kid is in danger of Pekka, of Kaz. Kaz is going to endanger this kid in some way, and he was against it. He spoke out about it right away. I don't want you to go after him. Like, I'm against that. And yeah, I like that. And it does seem to me to be a hint about Wylan's past. Okay, Kaz, his fight scene, I have mixed feelings about it. Kaz, I have been on like, I don't know, like I've been kind of feeling weird about him for the last few episodes, especially the last few episodes of season 1. And everything was getting right back onto good track when he admitted to Inej why he is going after Pekka. That was good. And the fact that he was sort of validated by Inej going like, then let's destroy him. I like that too. The bond between Kaz and Inej should be much stronger now. That's all good. Okay, now back to the fight scene. He couldn't fight this good before, right? I didn't catch that. And what is he just supposed to be so durable that he can take a beating? I mean, this goes against the idea of Kaz needing protection. And I'm not sure how I feel about this, because his limp, he says seems to me like he says people think that the limp is my weakness, but they don't know what the real one is, which I like that. I mean, the real one is obviously Inej and Jesper, like being his crew. They are his weakness. But I didn't like this. I liked him being the brains who is capable of defending himself a lot, but this was a lot. This was like a Rambo type of scene where he's in a situation he should not win with like 7 other guys and takes them all out. And he takes a pretty serious beating in the meantime and comes out okay. Not okay with that, unless it's just supposed to showcase how obsessed he is with his determination to destroy Pekka. In that case, you didn't need to go this far. Let's keep up the idea that he is a physically vulnerable person. He's got some capability, but this was a lot of capability. Like, why does he even bother having an edge? Oh, I also didn't like that he tells Inej how to fight. And this is coming from somebody with a martial arts background. If Kaz is not supposed to be a martial artist, and I think this happened actually before we saw his fight scene at the Dregs Club, I didn't like that he was she was like, how do I beat, the Mogans or whatever, which I thought Mogans was going to be around a lot longer. I'm surprised he died the very next episode. I thought he would be this ongoing villain that's going to constantly be an obstacle that especially Inej has to deal with every time that they go out on a mission this season. But he's gone, just like the Sea Whip was gone in 2 episodes. But anyway, I didn't like that she goes to Jesper for advice on how to beat an opponent in a physical fight. And yeah, I get it. Like, okay, it seems like he's the strategist. But if she's a fighter, she would already know this information. She wouldn't have to be asking somebody who is not a fighter. And I know I was like, oh, but didn't we just get the reveal that he is a fighter? I don't think he's supposed to be a fighter. Unless he is. Tell me about that in the comments. But I didn't like it because it just seemed not believable that she wouldn't already know what the situation is. And this is not coming from somebody who doesn't like to get advice. When I go to tournaments, I ask other people, even people who I'm pretty sure that I could beat, like, hey, what was something that I did that you'd be like, dang, I hope she does that again because I'm going to take advantage of it. I don't mind this sort of thing. But in this situation, this is fiction, not real life. I did not see Kaz as being somebody that Inej would go to for advice on how to win a physical fight. And I also didn't believe that she wouldn't have already thought I should look for what the tell is. Like, she didn't know what her own tell is. That's a big thing. Like, I know everything that I do wrong when I'm in a bout. You get out of it and you go, dang it, I know I did this thing and I wish I didn't, or I know I do this and I wish I didn't. She would know that she puts all of her weight on the back leg, which the way you fix that is by lowering your guard. Not guard as in like your guard down, like your on guard should be set in the ready to spring position. Anyway, okay, I'm getting too into this as a martial artist, so let's move on. I don't know if I have a whole lot more to move on with the crows. Kaz says his new weapon is suffering. I'm not sure I understand what that's going to be because it seems like him finding out about, what was it, Albie, the little kid, was the information he was really looking for. I don't know why it was so hard for him to find out where this kid is, but whatever, okay. I didn't like... You know what? Okay, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just a little confused about where this is going. So Kaz needed to go and recruit new guys. So how does he do it? He goes and he proves that he is the baddest ass badass, even though he has a cane and a limp. But anyway, I don't think that it's fake. I don't think that he's faking his limp because I believe Lee Bardugo has some sort of a disability where she needs a cane. And so she's like, yes, I'm going to make, Kaz my coolest character. I'm going to have him need one too. So I don't think he's faking it. If he is, this is going to be the Prestige, right? Where the guy's faking, they see the old guy with the cane and they're like, he's like, that's the real magic is, that's the real performance. He looks like he's old and frail, but he's not. He's super tough and strong. I don't think that's what's happening here. Moving on to Nina and Matthias. I'm slightly bored with Matthias. He's in this prison, he's cleaning up some poop, he gets thrown into the cage fighting. First there was a bear in there, so at some point he's going to end up fighting animals, I just know it. Obviously a wolf. He's going to have to kill a wolf because their wolves are sacred to Drskella, so he's against killing wolves, so of course they're going to try to make him kill a wolf. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. So that was his deal. Nina goes and blows her cover at the fight by yelling out to him, Matthias, and then of course Pekka's there and notices, Nina, you're acting like a freaking idiot. I'm much more interested in her story because this is interesting now. She's a double agent again because Pekka is like, you're gonna give me Kaz Brekker. So now Pekka once again has the upper hand. I brought this up in the last video. I am enjoying watching our smart villain make smart moves. This is another one of those smart moves. He knows that this Heartrender is the one that helped attack his office or, when he was at the office with Kaz. And yet now he knows how to control her. I've got control over Matthias, who you clearly will do anything for. So you're going to work for me. I like this. But there's also a part of me that is wondering if Kaz kind of sent her into this position knowing that this is what could happen. Because he's always, thinking one step ahead. If I was the writer, I would have been like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it so that Kaz warns her in advance or is aware of this is going to happen and is somehow able to manipulate the situation to his advantage. We'll see how it goes. Either way, I really enjoyed this episode, especially the crows. If we want to just forget about Alina and all of those guys, even Kirigan, I'd be fine with that. I really care a lot about the crows and not much about everybody else. So I am with you, crow fans. The crows win. By far the coolest characters in this series and really should have been only about them, but everything else is okay. But I'm sitting there seriously going like, okay, when we get to the crows, like, come on, Alina, get out of it. Like, okay, we're at the spinning wheel. Move over, get to the crows. Like, yes, Ketterdam. That's pretty much my whole experience watching this show at this point. So anyway, let me know what you thought. I had some questions as we were going, and if you've got answers for them, please put them in the comments. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. It really helps with the algorithm because I'm kind of a small, trying to grow channel. Other than that, if you are feeling super generous, maybe check out my Patreon or Ko-fi. I do prefer Ko-fi because they do not charge a percentage of anything that you give to creators. Patreon does. And that's it. Talk to you later.